you been like?
I've been up since 6 a.m, darling.
Oh, long day.
Yeah, it's been a long day.
I mean, I've been up since 7, but...
Oh, so
same vibe.
Same vibe.
Yeah. Different font. Hi, I'm Rachael Chinouriri. I am from London born and bred. However, my heritage is Zimbabwean, and I released my debut album, What a Devastating Turn of Events, this year, and I spoke about the struggles and battles of growing up as a Black British creative and what I've had to deal with. In this podcast, even, I'll be sitting with my dear friend, Kat Burns, and we'll be discussing what it's like making music as Black British creatives in the UK and the contributions we are making to British culture. We will also be joined by some amazing guests to speak about representation, creative expression, and our identity in our creativity. So this is Even, and let's get into it. We went to Brit school with each other.
We did, yeah.
My favourite song was Immortal Lovers.
And my favourite song was Brit.
Which no one is going to know of those tunes, but get to know. Because Immortal Lovers, is that still online?
I think it is.
I think I bought it on Apple Music anyway.
See, this is why we have been supporting each other for so long.
Yeah.
So our earliest knowing of each other was literally when we were first making music and just trying things.
All these fake fans saying, "Oh yeah, I've known Kat since Go. I've known." What about Immortal Lovers?
What about Rick?
Yeah. What about Immortal Lovers?
And then when people were like, "Oh, Love So My Darling," I said, "Yes, as you should." But I've been crying to that song since I was literally 17 years old.
She saw it get made.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get to know. I remember when you used to busk in South Bank.
Oh, what a time.
What a bloody time.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. And obviously we've gone through the pandemic when we were both launching our careers. We've gone through TikTok. We love TikTok so much.
We do.
We love TikTok so much, guys. And so many things have kind of evolved from there. So do you want to talk slightly about your journey for the people?
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so left Brit. And there was kind of a 2-year period where I was sort of releasing music and it wasn't the vibe. It wasn't it. And then it wasn't really working. I was kind of very close to giving up. I remember I went on holiday with my family, had no money in my account. Everything was just 0, 0, 0, 0. And then I had no fan base or anything. And then I remember having a big breakdown, being like, I think I should just let this go. Maybe I should just go to uni and just sack this all off. And then my sister just was like, no. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was just like, yeah, no, you're not. You're gonna keep doing it. And then
sisters.
We do. And then I came back and I was like, okay, why don't I just go busking? Because I hear people make decent money from it. So started busking on the South Bank. That was really needed for me in hindsight, because I was just able to tackle any type of situation that would happen. And you're also singing to people that didn't ask you to sing, so that's you kind of have to reel them in even though they didn't even ask to be reeled in. So that was a time. And then obviously lockdown happened, and I was like, I've got nothing but time. Lockdown, very bored, and was like, let me just start posting singing videos. So I just started posting covers.
Yes, TikTok. That was the one.
It was. Just started posting loads of covers. And the covers were doing well. And then I was like, maybe I should post some original music just so people know that I also make my own music. Did that and that did well. And then I posted Go. And then that did really well. And I was like, oh, okay, people want to hear my music. So that was a big confidence boost. And then I'm like, oh, this is fun. I then sign a deal. A year and a half later, Go has a resurgence, and then everything just changes and my career just speeds up and the trajectory of it just speeds up. And 2 years later, now we're here.
Because of the time it took before you got signed and everything started speeding up, do you feel like you were prepared for all the battles because of what you'd gone through before? Did you feel underprepared?
I think I definitely felt prepared because of other situations that occurred prior to that happening. It led me to be like, okay, I'm very aware of the industry now. I kind of have my head a bit more screwed on. So going into this situation, I feel like I know a little bit of what I'm doing. Bear in mind, I was 20, I'm 24 now. I did not know what I was doing at 20.
Yeah.
But you think you know everything. Whereas now I'm like, I don't know anything, but I know more than I did before. What about you?
Well, my journey from Brit has been interesting. I left Brit and I'm still with the same management I had when I was in Brit, because I would search up people whose careers I loved. So I'd search up people like Leanne Nahavis, all this stuff, and I kept seeing the name Duncan Ellis. I was like, now who is this man? But I remember Duncan obviously did Leanne before, and he's worked with other black artists, and I remember him specifically saying it's going to be difficult doing indie music as a black artist. He didn't say it exactly like this, but he was basically like trying to basically break that as an artist is difficult in a way. And I think I was so naive back then. I was like, well, I make indie guitar music, so it's not that bloody hard to do. Well,
Yes.
that was a different situation.
Yeah.
So I went through that. My parents got stuck in COVID in Zimbabwe, so I had to move out and find a living situation of some sorts. And then TikTok happened. It was like I was trying to do music-y bits, kind of wasn't doing its thing. Then TikTok started going a bit viral on TikTok. But then I made a post about being black in indie music after someone who is quite high up in a franchise that would help my career, which I won't say, was like, I love your music, I support everything that you do. And then he brought in quite a successful artist into the room, and he was like, this is Rachael Chinouriri, the next R&B soul princess. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh.
And I remember just being like, wow.
The R&B in the room?
The R&B was definitely not in the room, because I was in a session with Etta Marcus. So I was like, whoa.
Where is the R&B?
Yeah, the R&B was not there at all.
It was out.
It was, I think that moment I was like, am I going to continue having these behind the scene conversations about this? Or am I just going to make a post about how I actually feel, and what's the worst that can happen? I'm not streaming that high anyways. It doesn't matter. I'll just put it out. And then that post went viral. Same time, So My Darling went viral near about the same time, which is a song I'd written 5 years before.
Oh, love that song.
And then, thank you very much, Queen.
I remember that you had a song on SoundCloud. No, I loved it so much. It was Rick.
Oh,
That is the tune of my whole entire life.
I hope that's not online anymore.
I hope it is.
I hope it's not, because my sister mentioned it the other day and I was like, no, Rick is gone.
No, it's such a
By the way, I don't know anyone called Rick. It was just a song about a man called Rick.
Good song. I was playing that over and over and over and over again.
Thank you, girl.
Listen, the support has been there.
Brit school days, we had each other.
We did.
We really did. But yeah, it kind of flew up from then. Went to LA for the first time, and I think I was I loved it, but was so overwhelmed because I'd gone from never really working with that many artists to then being in parties with like every artist possible. But then people being like, we know what you do, we know your stuff, we love your stuff. And I was like, I don't know how to deal with it. But having like Duncan and Atlas was just really helpful, because I really cherish his advice. So when I'd end up in those situations and speak to him about it, he would always just give great advice and just always remind me it's about the music and the work, like don't get too wrapped up in that kind of lifestyle. And then, yeah, we then started doing the album. But yeah, since then, everything's just been going, and I like the pace that I'm going at, because it's kind of like having viral moments can really be quite scary, because I think I kind of panic, like, oh, I need this to last as long as possible and I need it to go to the next level. So I start to panic and then forget that I have a bunch of work I need to do in order to do my next projects and next kinds of work. So I've been liking how my career's been going and how everyone's coming about, the fan bases. Shout out Caitlin, shout out the OG darlings. Caitlin's a fan of both of ours.
Oh yes, love you, Caitlin.
We love you, Caitlin. And yeah, just being able to have communities like that has just been great with my career, and I'm now selling out my venues.
Well done. Check you out. I think it's nice. I think not always having viral moments can just help people. Well, because the goal anyway, which I think we have the same goal, is like building a really strong fan base.
Long-lasting career.
Exactly. With people that genuinely really love what we do and the music that we make, which takes time and takes having a discography. It takes consistently putting out music.
Yeah.
And you might not see the fruits of your labor yet, But as long as the music's out there for at least one more person to connect to it than they did before, is better than having constant viral moments, or having viral moments where you feel like you then have to like keep it up, because statistically you just can't have every single thing be a viral moment unless you're like one of the biggest artists in the world, where they just have that fan base already.
What role do you believe your art and music is playing in shaping conversations about identity in today's world? I think for the stage that we are at in our careers and the age that we are, I love being able to look back at people like Shingai from the Noisettes and Skin from Skunk and Nancy and be like, wow, look at how cool they were and what they were doing in an arguably probably slightly harder time in many ways. But it's like, obviously now speaking to them, they speak about it like their past, but we're currently living that time and seeing everything change as it's happening, which is kind of what I try and soak in, because I know I'm going to blink and then be 30 and be like, oh my gosh, when I was 25, I did an album like this and spoke about this and X, Y, Z. So I think the role in our identity, I don't think we'll ever know.
That's what I was going to say. I don't actually know.
I don't think we'll ever know the magnitude of what we've done until we start seeing other like super young black girls being like, oh, I was inspired by Cat Burns' first album. I was inspired by Rachael Chinouriri's first album. But it's quite nice to see how maybe the people before us, how hard they worked and how that's translated to us and how we're seeing the change, because I don't think they had the luxury of seeing the change. They've kind of had to deal with it, and maybe it, don't want to say tarnished their career, but slowed down their full potential because of things that were out of their control. And we're kind of lucky in the sense of, for example, things like Spotify have been so great at throwing us into the right playlists.
Absolutely.
I think we both speak quite honestly and openly about our identity, which I always find quite interesting, because I feel like to some degree, when people are like, what is it like being a black musician in artistry XYZ? It's a question which always comes around, and I find it is so important, because we've almost been given a role to try and help change the narrative for future artists. But I always find it interesting, because I'm like, wouldn't it be a weird question to go to a white artist and be like, so what is it like being a white artist in music? It's so strange.
It is.
And it's like when people are like, so what is it like being a black artist in music? I'm like, well, I've been black my whole life. So I can't give you a counter of what it is. And also all the things which I have to battle with are things which I haven't put onto myself. It's things which are quite obvious, but it's almost a battle for everyone else when it's quite obvious. So I guess it's, how are things like that? I know that you're LGBTQ, speak about it. How do you think those things have played into your identity? Do you think like it was a choice? Because it's never been our choice to be like, to speak about the struggles of being black in music, but it's something we have to do because we are black in music.
We are.
Yeah.
I think I'm in many different groups that are affected.
Your TikTok, when your album was on its first week,
Quadruple homicide,
had me on
black,
the floor.
Gay, woman, neurodivergent. Please, just pick one. I just needed one. I don't need four.
You got all the stones.
It's just all the I literally just need one more infinity stone and I've got it all. With all four, it is just my life. Like, I'm not one before the other for any of those things. So the intersectionality really does intersection itself. So I think like my life day to day is very queer. Like, my friends are very gay. My world is very gay. The spaces I put myself into is very gay. So I think it shapes, the music that I make is always going to be from a queer lens. Like, if I'm writing a love song, it will always be about a girl. So I think that naturally plays a part into just how I make music in general. I think I'm conscious of still wanting everyone to feel like they can listen to my music. So sometimes I won't gender things that much. I'll just kind of be like a you, me, us, and so you won't like know the gender per se. So I think it's now people are realizing, oh, she's gay. I didn't know that, because you can't, I guess with like People Pleaser and some of the other songs that I have, I'm not really talking about relationships and those kind of things. I'm just talking about things that we go through. So I think it definitely plays a massive part.
Here's a question. Do you think it played a massive part in your first album, and do you think it will continue to play a massive part in your next album? Or do you feel like you've spoken about it, you're ready for the next thing?
I think it played a big part in my first album because there are some love songs on there about a girl, and then there's like heartbreak songs on there, and it's a very wide range of songs. And there's a song on there called Boy Crazy, which is like a love letter to my younger self about just I can't wait until you finally accept that you're gay. And now I think I'm so much more comfortable in my queerness that my music now is just going to be even more than ever, but in a new way, which I'm excited to do. But I think not to be negative, I think just to be realistic, I think black artists are always placed behind
A few steps back.
Yeah, we're placed a few steps back behind white artists, which can be very frustrating because you hear all this conversation online. It's like there's a lesbian renaissance and there's this and there's that, and it's very white lesbian.
Yeah.
It's all the white queer people that are having the conversations about them, and there are loads of black lesbian artists that are like,
yeah, the conversation about black pop star. I'm like, guys, please.
Please.
There's like 50.
I keep seeing this on TikTok where people are like, there's such a rise in these female pop stars, and they're like, where are the black artists? And it's like, we're here, but we can only do so much. We're doing our best, guys.
We're trying our best, guys.
Trying as hard as we can. And I just feel like you guys won't even see us. It's like we're doing literally everything we physically can. Okay. So I think it just plays I think it plays a massive role, but I don't know where I went with that.
No, it's...
But I'm back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back and we're better, and we're going to keep rising and doing our thing. But also, it's the conversations, because we're friends with a lot of female musicians, which is great. But then sometimes when I'd sit and hear the struggles of being an artist, because also being a woman in the industry, bloody hard enough. But then sometimes I'll hear some of the battles and I'm like, damn, I haven't even hit that milestone yet because I'm black, so I'm still here. So you're telling me once I cross this hurdle, that's the next one?
Oh gosh, this is long, man.
And it almost feels like it's lucky that they don't have to think about that. But they also, obviously with us speaking to them, they learn those things, which I like how open I've been able to have conversations with my other artist friends who are not black, who are white, and they can see the extra hurdles that we have to go through and feeling supported. So I like how the industry has become that, and the community of friends that we have in these circles.
I agree. Can I say one more thing?
Yep, go on.
To the camera.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm going to need the general public to start finding black people relatable, okay? You can, if you are not black, you can relate to black people. Yes. You can follow a black artist. Yep. You can, even if it's a black influencer, black artist, whoever, you can follow us because we actually are humans.
Yeah. You also don't need to apologise for something that you've not done because you feel bad when you're like, oh, I'm so sorry you guys are going through that. I'm like...
You don't need to apologise.
Like, it's okay, guys.
We're okay.
We've been dealing with this since, like... fetus time.
We're so fine. You know, we've had therapy and we're going through it and it's okay. So you can follow black people. Just thought I'd put that out there.
And I think that's it's a beautiful space that our fan bases are really diverse. Because
they are.
When I see my black fans, POC fans, LGBTQ fans, when I did my last tour with the Q&A, the black artists would always ask a question, and sometimes it's majority white people, and I can see the fear in them trying to ask something about being black.
Oh my gosh.
But it's always nice for that conversations to happen, because I'm always looking at my other fan bases and being like, this is a hard thing to do, to be in a space around lots of white people and have that conversation and not wanting to almost feel like a burden to people and you know, that kind of thing where you feel like I'm scared to mention something about my race because you almost don't want to be seen as, oh, I'm playing the race card. Oh, people are going to look at me like I'm complaining. Sometimes you feel that a lot. And the fact we're able to have fan bases and spaces where we can speak about that and black fans and black artists and black people or queer people or neurodivergent people can feel safe enough to say that in our spaces is quite a beautiful world that we've been able to make with music.
It's so lovely. And I think, to be honest, if you are following us and you support us, you ride for us anyway, because we're black women. So do you know what I mean? Need I say any more? You just will, we know that you ride with us.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a phone number where I text my fans, and some of my fans have sent some questions. And first we have Amira. Thank you for your question, Amira. It says, does your cultural background influence your music, in particular storytelling, and how?
If I'm honest, I don't think it does. I think because I make make acoustic-y pop music.
Yeah.
So I've never sat down with myself and asked myself whether it has. I think the people I've drawn influence from, it's been a mix of like Black American artists, white UK art. Like it's quite a mix. So I don't think so. What about you?
I would say yes and no. I feel like I haven't explored my Zimbabwean heritage enough yet, but I know it's coming. One of my biggest influences has been Ladysmith Black Mambazo, which is a South African a cappella group. And I've always wanted to, at some point or somehow, incorporate that kind of music or work with them, manifesting.
It will happen.
It will happen. Work with them in some way, shape or form, but they've heavily influenced how I harmonise. And for me, harmonies is just the easiest, fastest thing for me to do.
Yeah, you're very good at it.
Thank you, girl.
You're welcome.
But it's the easiest thing for me to do because of that. But I think heritage-wise, I think when I did my first album, I've got St. George's flags all over the shop. I've got England flags. And I speak about my culture of being black in Britain. So I guess it's a different kind of culture, but I know that albums are a capturing moment of a particular time that you're in. And I think the time I was in was finally accepting that I am black and British. I'm going to deal with racism, but it doesn't define me. And whether they like it or not, I'm not leaving. And how British culture and music has influenced me, but there's not women who look like me, or not enough women who look like me, or they've been underappreciated, maybe, I would like to say. So yeah, the culture has influenced me in one way, but I guess it's my culture through trauma versus my culture through my heritage, which will come in future albums, because I just have to keep telling myself this is just one album, and I hope in my career I have like 10 albums. So those will come, but in this current point in my life, it's just about my culture with the traumas I've dealt with being black and British and relationships and being a Brit in the UK.
Quote tweet.
Next question. Rosalie, got it here. She said, queens, ! If you each had to pick a song from each other's discography to add to your own set list, which one would it be?
Oh. No, let me actually look. Let me not just pluck a song out of thin air.
The first one which I was about to say that I'm actually like, no, I'm not going to say that one.
Oh, let's see. I do love All I Ever Asked. I could... Oh, gosh. Oh. Yes.
Wait, let me skip to the chorus.
It gives teen movie.
Just throwing it out there. Imagine the fucking mosh pit.
Yeah. I'm doing a real toss-up between All I Ever Asked and So My Darling, because I
don't do All I Ever Asked. You sing it better than me.
It was all I ever asked of you. It was all... Yeah, I think that.